Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are at. Hope you're having a fantastic day. It's SoulSaint here, and I want to show you guys something that's going to be a little bit helpful, depending on where you are. Today, I've been rummaging around trying to see of different ways I can do micro improvements, and one particular area that I feel like I have been very negligent in, but also I think the time and place kind of suits where my focus would be at for farming would be something like Sand Devil's Necropolis. Now, why Sand Devils? So Sand Devils is pretty much a place to take gear that you have already invested into to some degree, right? I think you have to have a minimum like plus 12 or whatever to do your awakening or ascension in this case for gear. Is basically taking whatever stats you've already had on a set piece and giving it one extra little primary stat, whether that's percentage based, flat based, or speed, for example, is many of the different ones that you can get. I in particular found something that was pretty good. Utilizing a champion that I've been trying to find more and more benefits from, and it's something that everybody can acquire right now currently, and that is Artak. Artak himself has actually been kind of the gift that keeps on giving on top of what I've already been doing. So, my goal, and I'm gonna kind of show you guys a little bit of where we're at with, and we'll show you the build in a little bit, but my goal was to be able to farm, at least in some key places for Sand Devils, utilizing Artak in a solo potential build, right? On top of that, one of the things I'm realizing when I'm progressing my account right now is that, like, I'm trying to get, I'm aspiring right now in terms of my account focus to get Sand Devils to its utmost fruition, like its completion. I want to be able to farm 24, 25, depending on how I'm feeling there, with champions that I already have, like, for example, Aniri, who I've been working towards progressing on, right? But I've been having slight detail issues when it comes to like the build. I've been trying to get a little bit more stats here, a little bit more stats there, and I've been finding myself coming up short in one area or another. And I was like, man, how can I improve my account's progression, whether that's just raw gear or if maybe there's something I could do in terms of stat bonuses with gear I currently have. And Sand Devils is one of the areas that I'm like, all right, let me start seeing if I can check the mark a little bit more, utilizing that as a focus. And that's where I went down this whole rummaging process of like, all right, let me see what champions I can use. Maybe we can build something that will bring us to, the next step. And Artak was my answer. So the purpose of this build is basically efficient solo farm, using Artak as your main damage dealer, who benefits from like destroyed HP, and I was using that as like a focal point of my focus, while also leveling up food, so you're getting something else extra out of the consumption of your energy. So the more that you can do with your energy, the more valuable the run is, right? I was able to get this this build running at, it's like low minimum investment. It's not very demanding at all, but it works in both stages 7 and 11. And if you guys are so interested into it, there's a slight change. It's literally like very microscopic. It's like a 0.03% change in the amount of efficient energy per potion that you get, or the oils you get. But 11 also does open the door for someone who is trying to get their feet, they're slowly clawing their way to a more optimal account progression state. I thought 11 was also a great place to showcase this, because it gives you some medium potions, so like the medium or the greater oils, as they're called, and being able to get that for your team to be able to do what they got to do. This is a great stopping point. I also know people say that like farming 7 is probably the most efficient. I think in terms of like for the smaller, the normal oils is definitely a greater place to go. But I did think that like if you do want to at least try to tackle and grab some form of acquisition of greater oils, this is also a great place to maybe rummage out as well. And this build works for both 11 and 7. So I'm going to show you at the harder stage, since it's stage 11. And then from there, we'll talk about the build, and we'll talk about some of my experiences as I was building it up and some failures I have along the way. So sit back, enjoy the ride. It does take a little bit, but I'll tell you where we are with it and all the specific details in mind after the fight is over, okay? See you soon. Alrighty, it looks like we got about a 3-minute run, 3.5 minutes run. I think the best time I gotten so far is about like 3 minutes and 10 seconds. To be honest with you, when I built this team, I was actually kind of amazed to see how like his passive really kind of shines in an environment where like the maximum HP gets destroyed a little bit. You see how that fluctuation happens, and he starts kicking up and ramping up, which is a blessing, to be honest with you, in a fight where sustain is the name of the game when you're running a solo build. In particular, the main thing that kind of showcases like Burning Blood does have an effect on his stats, his output, and that ultimately allows him to ramp up a little bit more. But the main thing is that he's sitting in regeneration. He's had a healthy HP pool. I did take him up a pretty decent amount. I think that the amount of HP, I think you don't want to be any lower than like 60 to 65,000. I tried to keep myself as close to like 3k defense as much as possible so that he can sustain the damage. One thing to keep in mind is that both stages 7 and 11 are Spirit Affinity, so with someone that is Magic Affinity has the Affinity advantage going for them. So that does play a big part as to making sure he doesn't get crit or anything around those lines. Now, the rest of the stats are kind of irrelevant outside of two other ones, which would be speed. A healthy range around like 200 was what I was aiming for, just to make sure that he does his moves after the boss does theirs, and that, they kind of cascade and compile into him being able to catch him, like, that momentum kicks in. Now, there's two things that keep in mind. His passive is one where his speed does go up as his maximum HP is destroyed, as well as some other stats, but in particular, there is a master that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But before we go there, 264 accuracy was something that I kind of kept in mind. I don't know exactly the number, but I believe it's around like the 200 range, 250 range at stage 11. I think, or stage 7. Stage 11 maybe a little bit more, and as you go up in higher stages, it also goes up as well. Ideally, I wouldn't mind, deviating away from a broken set, maybe finding something that's a little bit more opportunistic. But the general idea is, making him pretty decent in health so that he sustains whenever he gets his HP back from regeneration. It's pretty substantial, so the higher the amount of HP he has, the more significant that 15% kicks in with, right? And then in tandem with that, going at a decent enough speed, I think at a minimum 200 was like where I was aiming for. Anything north of 250 was what I was aiming for too as well. And here's a key thing I want to show you guys. He's not booked at all still. I mean, we haven't, I'm due for CVC in another day, and I think I might take him up all the way. But if his A3 was fully booked, the consistency would go up, which means the run would go faster. I don't know if you guys were paying attention during the entire fight itself, but around the 50% mark, the two iterations where the boss puts himself to sleep, there was 2 cycles of Purify fire that occurred that he missed, and that slowed down the run. I want to say like each failed attempt slows down the run roughly about like a good 10 to 20 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds minimum. And each time he fails that slows down the run just a little bit. But in terms of survivability, at no shape or form does he struggle to maintain that level of consistency to a point where he's able to survive. The survival is never a question of concern in these particular stages. And of course, as always, having the increased cooldown and all that will fluctuate the efficiency of like when it's landing in between those waves or runs. And I will say this is that like the activation of HP burn will also destroy his HP, so that will have some kind of play into like where his HP pull threshold is at. But it also means that he speeds up as well, which means that he's kicking in more turns, which means we'll eventually sustain back up. And then of course, the application of it also, the HP burn will also heal him. So you take that into consideration when you're building him, and I think that the result will be roughly the same. Granted, in terms of masteries, and this is an experience I had, I tried doing something similar to this build, if not exactly on the money, with no masteries whatsoever. And I did have some failures, and I was like, I'm wondering why. So I was looking at some examples of some people who were doing some of their turns or doing some of their runs, utilizing Artak solo as an option. And I did notice that there was one key one that went straight down just towards War Master. And I was like, is that the make or break it? And I started dabbling a little bit more with some of my masteries. And I was like, you know what? Since we're trying to get something that's around the lines of like solo build, and I don't mind him, cycling into more opportunities with his HP burn, I threw in Cycle of Magic and Spirit Haste, along with basically some accuracy masteries on the Spirit support tree, and then I just went down the road for War Master, and ultimately that turned my, I want to say, pretty much high 90s, mid 90s run to a pretty much guaranteed 100% success rate. I have yet to fail since I've gotten his masteries fully implemented. So the power of mastery is yet shining yet again tremendously. I think that this build will change over time, and I'll let you guys know that I'm looking towards investing into building up a composition that incorporates Artak and a Neri in a solo comp in the higher stages, like stage 24, for example, to show that he could succeed at all stages of the game. And that's basically what I'm aiming for now. Will that require me to get some books on him? him. I think I'm going to go and start leaning towards this. I found in my experiences so far that being able to utilize him in other areas of the game, for example, Spider Hard or Spider Normal for that matter, as well as Hydra, all those places, he becomes a lot more efficient in once he's fully booked up. So I'm going to start bringing him up just because I see the value in this champion across multiple content. But in particular, for solo content for Stage 7 at the minimum, and Stage 11, if you want to take it just a little step further, needing books is not mandatory, as you can obviously see. If you can facilitate having a decent amount of accuracy and a regeneration build that can have decent stats on it, sky's the limit, you know, he's cooking regardless. But I do think that if we were to add books in general to this build, I think that you would see a skyrocket in towards a run that would go maybe half the time, if not at the very least 30 to 40 seconds faster. So you're looking at like a minute or 2 runs tops, you know, and that's kind of an ideal situation. I want to get to a point where it's fast farming, and you know, another great thing about it is like I'm able to farm food with it. So if I'm in the mindset of right now I need to acquire some oils to do some, you know, some awakening or ascension on some of my gear pieces, I could just take that opportunity to also farm some food. So it's a double win, double dip there in regards for both 11 and 7. You saw it clearly as clear as day. Now, I will say this. Will I use Artak in the foreseeable future for Sand Devil specifically? The answer is yes right now, but I am working diligently to maybe establishing some referral accounts with like Chronum being an example. I might do something with him because I believe he may also have the opportunity to do something like there, and he's going to be like, as far as I'm aware, he's not leaving the referral program anytime soon, so that will be one guaranteed champion that anybody can get. Whereas Artak is currently this season's free daily login champion, and that may change over time, right? So the main concept is that you have an HP burn champion, an HP burn exploder, ideally within the same champion, right? And then you plug and play some survival elements into him so where he can sustain throughout the battle, and that ultimately turns into an engine that's able to give you something, which is netting me experience for champion food, as well as, you know, some potions. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Have y'all found the thing that makes Artak tick in the higher stages? Do you have him booked still? Do you even use Masteries? Let me know. I'd be very curious to see. And then also, is your current team, are you using Aneri plus, you know, Ninja, or Aneri plus Walking Tomb Drink still? If so, you know, has Artak kind of tickled your interest and maybe alleviating those champions to do other content in the game? If so, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your opinion on things. And also, if you guys want to see any other additional content, please let us know if there's something in particular that you would like to see with this champion or maybe some other champions that we may have access to. I'm all ears. We're open to exploring this game even more together. And with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And with that all being concluded, I hope you have a fantastic day. And always remember, stay ascended.